Hey everybody, welcome to another great year of Fantasy Football 2012. I'm your Commissioner Cook, and I'm going to make three videos. This is the first of three videos talking about how to effectively play fantasy football. So with this video, we're going to talk about scoring, we're going to talk about waivers and the trading system, and then we're going to talk about playoffs. So without any further ado, we're going to jump right in with scoring. Now this year, the scoring has been reverted back to closer to a standard ESPN fantasy football scoring league with a few minor changes. Because in the normal league, the running backs are a little bit overpowered than the other offensive positions. What we're doing is we're adding a points per reception and a points per completion aspect. And what that does is it gives points to the quarterbacks, a half a point for every reception or every completed pass, and a half a point to wide receivers for every completed catch, for every reception. So you get half a point per reception and half a point for completion. So what that will do is even the playing field between the quarterbacks, the receivers, and the running backs. Next thing to take note of is that in the defense, no longer are there points given or taken away based on the yards allowed. It's only done on points allowed. And so last year you might have noticed that we had a 5-point scale on both yards given up and points given up. In the standard ESPN football league, we have only points given up. So it's a lot more like the actual football game where it only counts if they score. So if you have a good red zone defense, it's going to be stronger for you this year. You're not going to be hit for yards against you. And then lastly, in regards to scoring, it's good to keep in mind that touchdowns always are stronger, and the players that get the touchdowns are typically favored in fantasy football. Because you get 6 points for every touchdown thrown, touchdown run, touchdown reception, it's good to take into that in consideration when looking at your wide receivers and your quarterbacks and all of your positions, really, that your position player that's going to get your touchdowns is going to be more effective than someone who's just a good utility player. So keep that in mind when looking at the draft for this year. Alright, so now we're going to talk a little bit about waivers and the trading system. Now what the waivers is when you have a player, when somebody has a player and they decide they want to drop them, they're no longer going to keep them on their team, they don't go directly to free agency, they go to what they call waivers. And so that's so that you can't just pick up every single player right off the bat. You can't have people that are sitting online all the time able to pick up all the good players that someone else drops. So what it does is that it creates a 2-day pad so that if a player is dropped, it can be claimed off the waivers. So if somebody drops a player that you want, then you have to claim them off the waivers, and you go actually onto them and you set it up just like if you're picking up a free agent, and you make the pickup with them, and it'll be pending. A tentative transaction will be pending. And so the waiver order, which is the order of person with preference and priority to getting that player, is reset every week, and the player with the worst record in the league is at the top of the list. So that if two or three owners want the same player, the person with the worst record is going to get priority on getting that player. It keeps things fair, it keeps things more balanced, and so that's how the waiver system works, if you were wondering. It's just a way to pick up players that were recently dropped, and also to put some checks and balances in the system so that you don't have some person that's at work or not working that's sitting on the computer all day looking at everything, making sure they can pick up players right away. So if a player goes on waivers, then after a couple days they're not picked up, they go to free agency. So then you can pick them up at any time, just like any free agent that you're picking up off the bench or to put onto your bench. Now with trades have a 2-day period where if you ask somebody to do a trade online, they have 2 days to review it. A lot of times people don't check it every 2 days, so make sure that if you do make a trade offer to somebody in the league, since we're all family especially, give them a call, shoot them a Facebook message if you're on Facebook, or contact them in some way so that they know that trade's out there and that they can review it, just so that can go a little bit more smoothly. Now also with trades, we do have checks and balances to make sure that trades are done fairly. For instance, I can't, if I'm in last place and Nikki's up in like 3rd or 2nd place, fine for the 1st place spot, I can't just give her all of my good players in return for her giving me all of her bench players. There are checks and balances set up, and if we see stuff like that happening, which we call inappropriate trades, we can go in there and we can reverse them. There's also a veto function built in so that if the league players find that it just doesn't look very appropriate for a trade to be going on between two players, that or if there's a trade that's really imbalanced and somebody really got taken advantage of, then there's a veto system that requires 4 votes from the 8 players. Half the people have to agree that that's a veto. Alright, so the last thing we're going to talk about in this video is playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Now last year we had 6 teams go to the playoffs with the bye weeks. I'm not a big fan of bye weeks because, well, we're all here to play. And if you take a week off, you're not playing. So we're going to have a little bit more strong playoff league. We're only going to have 4 teams make the playoffs this year. And if you make those playoffs, you're going to have 2 weeks for each of the playoff rounds. So the last 4 weeks of the season is going to be playoffs. 2 weeks per each round. And then for the last 4 teams, they're going to have a consolation bracket. Now the winner of the consolation bracket, we're going to call the whole consolation bracket the Toilet Bowl. And it's going to be a championship for whoever wins the Toilet Bowl. That 4-team bracket is going to automatically get first-round draft pick next year. All right? So that's how the playoffs are going to work this year. If you have any questions, again, shoot me an email, shoot me a Facebook message, give me a call, and we'll talk about it. All right? So look forward to the next video coming up. It's going to be on achievements, our new strategy, fun part of the game that we're implementing this year. All right?